Uh-huh.
And she was kind of an interesting person. She joined the Civil War dressed up as a male, and she got away with it for the whole tour of duty.
Oh, wow.
Matter of fact, the first 2 years they made her a drummer. And that's pretty amazing in itself because a drummer is like a Morris operator who would have been in the 40s and 50s. A lot of what they did were signals that told the commanders where to go and which right, left, up, down, fall down, whatever.
Uh-huh.
Drummers was a pretty important thing, and she was really good at it. So she was a drummer for 2 years.
Okay.
Nobody knew she was a male, but that's easy to explain because in the Civil War everything was out behind the bush and behind the tree and this and that and another thing. And
Yeah.
nobody really paid attention as long as you're doing your job. And her features were such that she was quite a fine-looking drummer boy.
Yeah.
Little did they know. But anyhow, after 2 years as a drummer, one of the sergeants came up to her and asked her if she could shoot a weapon. They were kind of getting short on people with weapons, and then apparently they must have had a drummer in the wings that come into the unit. But she says, "Well, yeah, I grew up on a farm. What do you think?" And he handed her a musket and set up a set of targets.
Uh-huh.
And he discovered that she could shoot the eye out of a fly at about 50 yards.
Huh.
So she wound up in the action. She was in some of the bloodiest battles of the Civil War. She was in Antietam. She was in a bunch of places, okay?
Uh-huh.
And I told her story. But in telling the story, I used some stuff from the National Archives, and some pictures and some paintings and stuff like that, which were in the public domain because of where I got them from, so that's not a problem. But I did use a picture of her that I got from a book somewhere, and she's wearing a black cape with a hood over her head, and then she's got a bow in the front of her, and that was apparently when she was still dressed up as a girl. And but anyhow, I'm looking at that, and the more I look at it, I don't like it, number one, because it's a very poor quality picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, you could probably, anybody that has pen and ink sketch talent could probably take that, and they could just do me a little pen and ink sketch, and all of a sudden, I'm not violating any copyright law because it's artistic, what do they call it?
Artistic license?
Fair use.
Yeah. So I kind of what I need is I need a head, a bust shot of her, just shoulders.
Okay.
But the reason I gave you her name is if you go on the internet, you will find several books that have been published on her.
Mm-hmm.
and you will probably find better pictures than the one I'm using. And I would really like to put this baby to rest if I can.
Mm-hmm.
I'll mail you a copy of her story so you can see what it looks like. It's I think I made a copy for you.
Okay.
I did know for you, but that's what I'm looking at.
Well, good morning. It is another beautiful day. It is the Sunday before September, I think. August 30th? 30 days past September, April, June, and November. 31 days in this month. So, anyway, I planted a row of trees and shrubs yesterday. I have 2 more to go. I have my serviceberry and I have a pear tree. They fell over last night. But this is a really beautiful kind of setup for us on this side of the driveway, because before I put those there, we just had this field of grass. And I think when these grow up, it should provide a nice little boundary here for our house. And as of right now, we still have access to run around and play in that yard. Maybe hit a baseball towards the road there. So today I'm going to be planting the rest of these bushes here laying in the grass. And I'm gonna try to harvest some potatoes if it doesn't rain on me. Well, I got my tree in the ground here, and it's twice as deep as it is wide, as far as, you know, comparing it with the root ball. I've mixed my soil, my native soil, with some peat moss, some organic raised bed planting mix that I had sitting around, and then some play sand, just for some good drainage. So I'm gonna plant this one up and we'll move on. And this is the Summer Crisp pear. So I have a heavy clay soil, and so I'm just kind of crushing up the clay and mixing in my organic material, sand, peat moss, fresh soil. So I like to take my plant and raise it up above my hole. I want to make sure I know where the base of the tree is. So here I have a painted line. I want to make sure that I don't bury this portion of the tree. But I'm going to hold it about here, and then I'm going to start adding my soil from all sides, because I want to make sure the roots are buried. I want the roots as deep as they can go, so I've obviously loosened them up while they were in. Ooh, another big chunk of clay I forgot to get. I'm gonna crush that up, make sure that it's mixed. The trees obviously like well-drained soil, so I want to do my best to help drain that soil. So I'm gonna make sure my big chunks of clay are thoroughly mixed in, taking out all my grass. feel like the tree is properly supported, I can kind of let go of the stem here, but I'm kind of pulling up on the stem slightly just so I have it at my right height, but yet the bottom of my root system is as deep as it will go because I've suspended it. I can probably start letting go of the tree. There we go. I'm gonna have some good drainage here. I'm gonna just start mixing in some of this dirt that came with the plant. Yep, I'll be right there. Thank you. Okay. My wife just brought me some coffee, so I'm a lucky guy. Well, that was some work well done. I'm looking forward to having this tree. It's the Summer Crisp pear. And gosh, I think the best thing I can do this winter, since it didn't have as long as some other trees to have its roots kind of get established, I'm gonna probably try to make sure that there's a good base of mulch on top here. So I'm gonna go back to the store. I want to make sure that I at least have 3 inches of mulch up here around the base. And anyway, I am a really lucky guy. The wife made me some decaf coffee. It's nice. Ooh, it's about 80 degrees out here to start, and this is hot, but feels like home. Especially the whipped cream. I mean, you gotta say the whipped cream's the best part. Homemade whipped cream with a little bit of cinnamon on top. Can't go wrong. All right, well, next up, we have a Regent Saskatoon serviceberry plant. And these guys are good up to negative 50 degrees. And let me tell you, with global climate change, you never know if you're gonna get minus 30 or positive 130. So this is one of the hardiest berry bushes you can find. And we're gonna get this in the ground. They recommend planting this 1.5 or planting, digging the hole 1.5 times the size of the root ball. And I've kind of created a pattern here in this new row of fruit trees and bushes where I have it in a row here. So I'm gonna try to get between the pear and the apple. Let me show you the row. Here's my row running down this side of the driveway all the way up to that red car. And I'm gonna try to pace off between this tree and my next one, the apple tree there. And I'm gonna find the middle through paces. Here we go. 1, 2. I have about 23 paces between the trees, so I'm going to divide that in half and find 11 feet. 1, 9, 10, 11. 11's right here. That should be somewhat in the middle, and we'll start digging that hole. It's time to water. Here we go. So I'm definitely gonna need to buy some more mulch. But I have just enough to hopefully keep the dirt from bouncing back up too much. So now, so these are pretty well established plants already. Air is up by his doghouse. Say what? Yeah, he's on his leash. I must have a kink in the hose. Air bubbles. So watering is one of the most underestimated things you can do for a new tree or shrub. Want to make sure you do a generous amount of water. The first planting, you want to just soak the ground, saturate it, make sure everything's settled in around the roots. We're in our garden and we have our potatoes. Now, I say we have our potatoes, but do we really have our potatoes? I'm about to find out. I'm gonna start digging here and see what I come up with. I'm gonna try to be careful and inch slowly forward with my garden shovel wheel. So here we go. Here goes nothing. Well, first thing I see is some green beans. And these were kind of touching the ground, so there's a little bit of rot, but it looks like there is one salvageable seed that I could try to dry and store to hopefully get more of these purple pods. A little bit of dirt on that one. I'd like to say a little bit of dirt never hurt anybody, but with all these viruses flying around the globe, that might not be true. There's definitely a lot of little seeds in this pod. I mean, I could have just munched it, but I also think that seed saving and things of that nature are valuable. So I am going to start saving some of these for next year. My first anticipated frost date is about 30 days, 25 days away. So right there I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seeds out of 2 pods. 1.5 since this one was touching the ground and rotted. small sample size, but our harvest so far, a lot of purple pod green beans. I'm definitely gonna do some seed saving, and then we definitely have a handful of potatoes. And so far, I'd say I've dug out about 6 feet of my potato bed. Some of these are damaged. There's a crack in this one. Looks like some underground critter might have been snacking on a couple. But we do have a lot of great looking potatoes, albeit on the small size. But you know what? For my first year of growing potatoes, I'm gonna take what I get. And I'm not gonna lie, I have a lot more to harvest. Basically, if you look, we have some cucumbers, a pumpkin, some zucchini in the background, but then all this grassy area over here should be just planted with tons of potatoes. So if I got, you know, I don't know, 3 pounds of potatoes out of 6 feet, I can't imagine what I'm gonna come across here. But you know, this is definitely gonna be some work. So I better get to it.
Like a good scrumptious cookie, but
Where'd you get that
the
cookie?
texture, oh my god.
What about the texture?
Like, the swirling and the chocolate chips a little awkward and
You think it's enough sugar?
yeah.
Okay. How about you, lady? You got enough sugar in there? There's more metal. There's a ball. I like the face. Let me hit the sword. That's a dead fish. You can do it! No. No, it doesn't go in here. No. Zoe, can you smile? Can you smile?